that people have the confidence to know what it is and to report it.
Baroness Gould of Pottermute.
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing my name on the order paper.
My Lord, sexual health and HIV services are already sensitive to the risk of domestic abuse and sexual violence, including gender-based violence, in their routine consultations. In recent years, the government has put nearly £40 million into specialist domestic and sexual violence support services and national helplines. We also set up 15 new female rape support centres to raise the total to 86. We have taken strong action in the fight to eradicate female genital mutilation.
I thank the Minister for that reply, but with respect, I don't think it's enough to the question that I've asked, which is the relationship between HIV and sexual and gender abuse. So I'm asking the Minister, does he not accept that the government has a responsibility to work across the relevant departments, as others have said, to firstly ascertain the number of women who are in this dire situation, to then encourage them to seek support and help, which they say desperately need, and which many are prevented from doing because of the stigma of their situation, and then very, very crucially that the government provides the resources, both staffing and financial, to help these women in the terrible situation they're in.
The Noble Lady raises the very profound point about stigma, and I think where people are suffering both from HIV and domestic abuse, they are probably they're extremely vulnerable and feel it very difficult to raise these issues. I think the government has done a lot to raise, to try and remove the stigma and to make it easier for these very vulnerable women to come forward. And I think the sexual assault referral centres that I'm sure the Noble Lady is aware of, there are now 43, and these are funded by NHS England, the police and by local authorities is a good example of cross-government support.
In 2012, the coalition government set up a new research and innovation fund to collect information about violence against women in 10 African and Asian countries with a view to setting a new prevention strategy. Could the Noble Lord the Minister tell us anything about how that strategy is progressing? And given the risk of HIV to many of these women, will that issue be covered in the strategy?
I think I'm right in saying that there are some 16 million women worldwide who suffer from HIV AIDS. So it is a huge problem, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. The innovation fund that the Noble Lady refers to is not one that I'm familiar with, but I will investigate it and write to her.
My Lord, could I ask the Minister if he is aware that there are many African men living in the UK who deny they may be HIV, refuse to have a test, and therefore put women at risk? What is the government going to do about it?
I believe there are some 103,000 people who are HIV positive in England, of whom 2/3 of them are men, and the vast majority of people who are HIV positive, or the majority of people, do come from sub-Saharan Africa. The Noble Lady makes the point that some of them who know that they're HIV positive are not taking appropriate action. So what we're going to do about them? I think it's also worth pointing out that there are some 18% of people who are HIV positive are ignorant of the fact that they are HIV positive. I think that we do have a very big communication programme going to try and educate and inform these men, and we'll continue putting the necessary resources into those programmes.
My Lords, given that today is the UN International Day for the Elimination of Violence against Women, has the Noble Lord the Minister taken a moment to see the associated Action Aid exhibition in the upper waiting hall? And in respect of women with HIV, the only survey we seem to be able to find about the prevalence of domestic violence is a 2013 one from Homerton, which showed probably a half of women with HIV had reported experience of partner violence, in which case could the Noble Lord the Minister perhaps undertake that there should be more research on this, and if such a figure is found to be confirmed, that everyone dealing with HIV women should be taught to think about the awareness of their vulnerability to domestic violence?
I have not been to the upper waiting hall to see the exhibition, but I will endeavour to do so if I have time after these questions this afternoon. The Noble Lady refers to the research done at the Homerton in 2013, which I think the figure was 52% that study came up with. There has been a subsequent study. I can't remember the name of the study. It may not be as extensive as the one done at the Homerton, which put a figure slightly less than 52%, but it was still very significant. But I will ask officials the status of that subsequent research to see whether or not we need more or not.
Can I just help the Minister by saying it is Positively UK that have done the other piece of work?
Lord Bishop of Chelmsford.
My Lords, I beg leave to ask the question standing in my name on the order paper.